16,726 yards, 110 touchdowns, and a running style so brutal and beautiful they called him Sweetness. Walter Payton was more than a record breaker. He was a force who turned pain into poetry on muddy fields and never ran out of bounds, no matter the hit. Drafted 4th overall, he built a legacy. No modern running back has touched. Not in stats, not in spirit, not in soul. His legend was forged far from the bright lights in segregated Mississippi and pushed to the limit with a 104-degree fever and 40 carries in a single game. There will never be another Walter Payton. But what drove an icon to run so hard, and at what cost did greatness come? Columbia, Mississippi. The Deep South, 1950s and 60s. White and black lived on opposite sides of the tracks, and the law kept it that way. Walter Payton grew up in a world where the rules were written by segregation, enforced by silence, and broken only by the sound of a drum or the cheer of a Friday night crowd. Walter was a quiet kid with restless hands, always tapping out rhythms on tabletops, school desks, church pews. He played drums in the marching band, played football on dusty fields, and learned early how to slip through spaces that weren't meant for him. At Jefferson High, the all-black school, he ran past defenders who barely caught his shadow. But the real test came in 1969, when a court order forced Columbia's schools to integrate. Suddenly, Payton and a handful of black classmates walked into Columbia High, the old white school carrying more than books, carrying the weight of an entire town's tension. That fall, football became the one place where the rules bent. On a muggy September night, Payton took a handoff deep in his own territory. 94 yards later, he crossed the goal line untouched. The stands, split by color at kickoff, erupted together. Black and white fans jumped to their feet, some hugging, some just stunned. Old men who'd never spoken to each other slapped hands over the fence. For a moment, Columbia was one team. Local papers called it a miracle run. People in Marion County still talk about that play as the night the town changed. But for Walter, the lesson was simple and permanent. Don't run out of bounds, not in football, not in life. He'd say later, "Why die easy? Make that linebacker pay." The world outside might stay divided, but on the field, every yard was earned. Every hit was answered. Sweetness learned to run through pain, not around it, and to find music in the chaos. That's where the legend began. Jackson State. The Tigers wore blue and white, and Walter Payton wore them out. He arrived in 1971, a skinny freshman with a drumline's rhythm in his step and a chip on his shoulder the size of Mississippi. By the time he left, he owned every rushing record that mattered. 3,563 yards, 63 touchdowns, 4 straight All-America seasons. He ran like he was late for something, always one cut ahead of the defense, always finishing forward. HBCU football in the early 70s was a proving ground, gritty, overlooked, and full of future pros. Payton turned it into his personal showcase. He didn't just outrun defenders. He made them miss so badly, some never found their balance again. The stutter step, half hesitation, half jazz solo became his signature. One juke, and the field tilted in his favor. Coaches called it uncoachable. Teammates called it magic. On Saturdays in Jackson, the stadium swelled with noise every time he touched the ball. Scouts showed up, notebooks in hand, trying to figure out if the numbers were real. 65 yards here, 70 there. The box scores looked like typos, but the NFL had doubts. Some said Jackson State's competition was too soft. Some said Payton was too small, too flashy, too southern. Draft analysts wondered if a kid from a black college in Mississippi could handle Sundays in Chicago. The Bears didn't wonder. In 1975, they called Payton's name with the 4th pick. He walked onto the stage in a powder blue suit, shy smile hiding a promise. no one would ever question his toughness again. Walter Payton left Jackson State with a degree, a pile of records, and a reputation for running through anything: mud, pain, doubt, or history. The NFL was about to meet sweetness, and the game would never be the same. First carry, -8 yards. That's how Walter Payton's NFL career began, buried in the backfield, met by a wall of defenders, and a city full of doubts. Chicago sports writers sharpened their pens. The Tribune called him ordinary. The Bears kept losing. Payton ran hard, but the holes weren't there, and the scoreboard never flinched. Some rookies would have folded. Payton just stared, straight ahead, eyes cold, jaw set. He took every hit, got up slower each time, and never asked out. By mid-season, he started breaking tackles the way he used to break curfews in Mississippi, one after another, until only daylight was left. 2 years later, November 20th, 1977, the Vikings came to town, and the air was thick with winter and worry. Payton woke up burning, 104 degrees, chills running through his bones. Doctors told him to sit. He shook his head. The Bears handed him the ball 40 times. He ran through linebackers, around safeties, over anyone in his path. 275 yards, an NFL record. Teammates watched in disbelief as he kept asking for more, sweat pouring, hands on knees between plays. By the fourth quarter, defenders were gasping, but Payton was still churning, still fighting for every inch. After the game, reporters crowded around, waiting for chest thumping or excuses. Payton just shrugged. "It's about the team," he said. No mention of fever, no mention of pain. Just a quiet nod to the men blocking for him and the city that still wasn't sure what it had. That day, the Bears learned what Mississippi already knew. Sweetness didn't break. He broke you. Arlington Heights, Illinois. A hill, 92 feet high, carved out of landfill and legend. Walter Payton turned that mound into his secret weapon. While most pros hit the gym or the track, Payton ran hill sprints at dawn, rain or shine, summer or Chicago winter. He charged up the slope 20, sometimes 30 times, legs burning, lungs on fire, no cameras, no crowd. Teammates tried to keep up. Most quit halfway, doubled over in the grass. Payton kept going. He believed punishment built armor. Every step uphill made Sundays feel easier. That's how he started 178 games in a row, 13 seasons, never missing a start. No running back before or since has matched that Ironman streak. The hill wasn't just about legs, it was about will. It's where Payton learned to run through defenders, not around them. Where he built the power to bounce off hits and the balance to cut on a dime. Sports scientists today call it posterior chain strength. Back then, it was just sweetness chasing perfection. But Payton's game was more than brute force. He could throw a spiral 40 yards, block blitzing linebackers, even punt when the team needed it. 8 touchdown passes, 492 catches, and blocks that made coaches shake their heads. He played every snap like he was the last line of defense, the first option on offense, and the only man who could swing a game with a single play. No one ever accused him of saving himself. He did the dirty work, lead blocks, trick plays, special teams, without complaint or spotlight. It was all part of the blueprint. Outwork everyone, outlast everyone, and never, ever give in. That's how Walter Payton became the standard. Not just for running backs, but for anyone who ever laced up cleats and dared to call themselves tough. Walter Payton didn't just run through defenses. He ran through life with a grin and a punchline. In the Bears locker room, nothing was safe. Not your shoes, not your lunch, and definitely not your sense of dignity. Fireworks in lockers? That was classic Payton. Once, he slipped a pack of black cats into a rookie's gym bag, then wandered off whistling. The whole room jumped 3 feet when the bag exploded. Nobody ever found out how he got the matches past security. Mike Ditka, the head coach with a face like a thunderstorm, found himself on the wrong end of Payton's humor more than once. Late-night phone calls in a fake Southern accent, orders for 100 pizzas to Ditka's house, rubber snakes in his desk drawer. Payton made sure the coach never got too comfortable. Ditka would bark, "Payton, I know it's you," but Walter just laughed and hung up. Even the toughest man in Chicago couldn't stay mad for long. Payton's joy wasn't just for teammates. He brought it to the world. In 1987, he stood on the stage at Saturday Night Live, co-hosting with Joe Montana. Sketches, jokes, even a little dancing. Payton handled it all with the same rhythm he brought to the backfield. The crowd roared as he poked fun at himself, at football, at the city. For one night, Sweetness was the star of comedy, not just the gridiron. Stories floated around about a Soul Train dance contest back in his Jackson State days. Maybe he won. Maybe he just lit up the floor. What's certain is that Payton could move, on the field, in the club, or anywhere music was playing. Teammates said his feet never stopped. He'd moonwalk through the training room, challenge the biggest lineman to a dance-off, and leave everyone in stitches. For Payton, laughter was armor. It broke tension, built trust, and pulled a team together when pressure threatened to tear it apart. Behind the stutter step and the stiff arm was a man who believed football should be fun, and that every day, win or lose, deserved a little mischief. January 26, 1986, New Orleans. The Bears stomped the Patriots, 46-10. The city of Chicago danced in the streets. Defensive linemen scored. The Super Bowl shuffle blared from every radio. But in the winning locker room, Walter Payton sat with his head in his hands. 14 years, 3,838 carries, and not a single touchdown on football's biggest stage. Mike Ditka, the coach with a heart that beat in blue and orange, missed it in the chaos. He gave the ball to William Refrigerator Perry at the goal line. The crowd loved it. Payton watched from the huddle, silent. Years later, Ditka called it his greatest regret. "I should have given Walter that moment," he said. No one argued. Not teammates, not fans, not Payton himself. He never complained. But those close to him saw the wound. Matt Suhey, his fullback and closest friend, wrapped an arm around him that night. "You did everything for us," Suhey whispered. "We know." Modern running backs don't carry the same weight. Today, the average NFL career for a back is 2.57 years. Coaches rest their stars. Workload is split, touches counted, bodies preserved for next week. Payton never asked out, never ran out of bounds. He carried the ball until the clock hit 0, until the pain was louder than the cheers. The record books remember the score. The city remembers the parade. But in the heart of the greatest bear, there was an empty space. 1 yard, 1 carry, forever out of reach. After the cheering faded and the parades were over, Walter Payton faced a silence he couldn't outrun. The same body that carried him through 3,838 punishing carries now demanded a toll. Painkillers lined his bathroom shelf, chasing aches that never left. Friends noticed the changes first. Some days, Payton's smile was just a mask. Bud Holmes, his agent, got late-night calls from Walter, voice low, words slurred, sometimes hinting he might not make it to morning. Holmes would drive over, sit with him until the sun came up. Nobody else knew, not then. Business ventures offered no escape. Nightclubs, dealerships, even a failed bid to join the NFL's Owners Club. Each one started with hope, ended with lawsuits or debt. In 1988, a gun kept under his nightclub desk went off, shooting him in the leg. Police called it an accident. The headlines stung. That same year, a lawsuit followed a shooting at his club. Payton settled quietly, but the damage was done. Chicago's Golden Boy now found his name in court filings, not just box scores. At home, life was just as complicated. Marital troubles spilled into the open, and the strain showed. Connie Payton held the family together, even as rumors and reality blurred. Mike Singletary, the teammate who once chased him up Arlington Heights Hill, became a lifeline, offering daily prayers, checking in, reminding Walter he was more than a jersey number. Behind the legend, there was a man wrestling with pain, regret, and the weight of being everyone's hero. Sweetness was human, after all. February 1999. Walter Payton sat in front of cameras, his voice shaking, eyes clear. He told the world he needed a new liver, and he needed it soon. He didn't plead for himself. He asked for others, strangers, families waiting for a miracle. That single press conference did what decades of public service ads could not. Phone lines at the Illinois Secretary of State's office lit up. 13,000 new names appeared on the donor rolls in the first months. The state rewrote its laws. Now, a checkmark on your driver's license meant your wish was final. No family veto, no red tape. The papers called it the Payton Law. Jarrett Payton, just out of college, watched his father's courage ripple through Chicago. Schools launched service days in Walter's name. The Bears locker room filled with sign-up forms. Local news ran stories of lives saved. Children, teachers, truck drivers. All because Sweetness turned his fight into a mission. The NFL followed suit, renaming its Man of the Year award in 2000. Every year, a new player holds up the trophy with Walter's name etched in gold, carrying the message forward. Payton's foundation kept working. Toy drives, scholarships, Christmas gifts for kids who needed a break. In classrooms and city halls, his story became a civic lesson, how one man's pain could build hope for thousands. In Chicago, the legend wasn't just about yards or touchdowns. It was about giving, about finishing strong, about leaving the world better than you found it. Walter Payton carried the ball 3,838 times without stepping out of bounds, a mark unmatched by any NFL running back to this day. From the segregated fields of Columbia, Mississippi, to his record-breaking 16,726 rushing yards and 178 consecutive starts, every step was documented by game film, newspaper archives, and official league records. Though Payton's struggles with depression and addiction were confirmed by interviews and medical reports, the full extent of his private battles remains partly shielded by family privacy and sealed documents. His 1999 public appeal for organ donation led to over 13,000 new registered donors in Illinois, a number verified by state records. Today, the NFL Man of the Year Award and the Soldier Field statue stand as documented proof of his impact. What made Walter Payton unique is recorded in the statistics, in the footage, and in the lives he changed. As the evidence shows, there has never been another quite like him.